Industrial Cove Manor Housing Development Order of 2025. Report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefits Special Selection Masmere Flats Housing Development Order 2025. And finally, the Auditor General's Department certified appropriation accounts under Head 08000 for the Ministry, the Independent Commission of Investigations 2023 for 2024 from the Auditor General's Department. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Bills brought from the Senate. Petitions, papers, reports from committees. House Leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House the report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberation on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefit Special Selection Catherine Estate Housing Development Batch 1, Order number 25. The report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberation on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefit Special Selection Industry Cove Manor Housing Development Order 2025, and the report of the Regulations Committee on the House of Representatives on its deliberation on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefit Special Selection Masmere Flats Housing Development Order 2025.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Notices of motions given orally. First, yes, House Leader, because there are several.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Whereas Section 1G of Section 41 of the Constitution of Jamaica requires members of this House of Representatives to vacate his seat if any firm in which he is a partner or any company of which he is a director or manager becomes a party to any contract with the government of Jamaica for or on account of the public service, or if he becomes a partner in a firm or a director or manager of a company which is a party to any such contract, and whereas the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew North Western is a shareholder of Carleen Smith and Company, which is a family-owned business, and whereas this entity may from time to time enter into contracts with the government of Jamaica and its affiliated agencies, and whereas the member has disclosed his interest in this entity, be it resolved that this motion be referred to the Ethics Committee of the House of Representatives for consideration and report. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you, House Leader. Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the Bauxite Production Levy Capital Development Fund Withdrawal Order 2025 Resolution. Whereas Section 12(1) of the Bauxite Production Levy Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, establishes the Capital Development Fund. And whereas Section 12(5) of the Act provides that the Minister may from time to time, by order, direct that a sum specified in the order be drawn from the Capital Development Fund for such purposes and subject to such conditions as shall be specified in the order. And whereas Section 12(6) of the Act provides that every order made under Section 12(5) of the Act shall be subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives. And whereas on the 7th day of November 2025, the Minister made the Bauxite Production Levy Capital Development Fund Withdrawal Order 2020.
You think you understand how this business works, but you don't.
I now know why Monty was so stressed.
What's the plan here?
Landman, new season starts Sunday the 16th of November. Watch season 1 now, only on Paramount Plus on $4.99 a month.
They might choose a voyage.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. This resolution may be cited as the Bauxite Production Levy Capital Development Fund Withdrawal Order 2025 Resolution.
Big up everybody who depend it, you know. But me go and listen because this look like me go lose. Me get out tonight. So big up on yourself. Here, Mr. Go and take it in.
On the table of the House on the 11th day of November 2025 is affirmed. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which was given.
Big up everybody who there with me here.
Thank you, Minister.
I'm going to listen to this clown.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motions. Be it resolved that the report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefit, Special Selection, Catherine Estates, Housing Development
Andrew Hyde from Parliament.
Order.
Absent from our job.
Regulations Committee
of the House of
Representatives on its deliberations
and your dirty blood
on the National
clot
Housing Trust
hide.
Housing Benefit Special Selection Industry Cove Manor Housing Development Order 2025 and the report of the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the National Housing Trust Housing Benefit Special Selection Maysmore Flats Housing Development Order 2025, which were laid on the table of the House on the 11th day of November 2025.
Big up on yourself here.
Approved. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you. Questions and answers to questions? Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice.
We say
Motions
Andrew in
relating to the
Jamaica.
sitting of the House.
Big up yourself.
Motions
When
for
gone?
leave to introduce bills.
When you gone out of the country and
Presentation of
report to me and
bills
tell me say I
without
left
leave
off
of
an
the House
island.
first
But it's not
obtained.
easy. Oh,
Public
nobody not
business,
inform me say I
House
leave the
leader.
island. Then take my job for a joke. Anyway, when we saw go on at the Parliament
Speaker,
today. See Jezebel there, you know.
On
Bigfoot John Cross. See him
14th day
there?
of October, I give notice in this honorable House of private members
Black Beauty, big up yourself and you check in. Big up yourself, man. I wonder how this bridging gone out of the country and not tell me. How when I know so this bridging leave out of the country, but it's not easy. Why hear what them are going with night here, you know?
Thank you
because
Thank you.
Somebody will get a
Madam
lick in
Speaker, I
the
now
ear.
move for the
I'm
suspension
sure
of
no
the
say that
standing
me.
orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
House, the question is we suspend the standing orders to take the motion. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which was given earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Minister Williams, Finance Minister.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Bauxite Institute, JBI, was established by the government of Jamaica in 1975 as a regulatory planning
that
and
the car and I chat
development
to somebody
agency
side of Juliet,
to
Holness, the
manage
boy
the
will keep
sovereign
gay party in a
aspects of
Clarendon
the
and here in a man house and man have to run him
participation
for
in the
him property.
bauxite alumina industry.
In Piskimpy, tight jeans
The
and spike
Bauxite
heel.
Company Development Program was established in October
No one say where him a come
1996 with a mandate
No
to
one say
promote
with this dirty
long-term
fucker you go come.
sustainable
See thieving
development
boy there, you know.
in
See the
communities
bomb bug, no
affected by
petrotram cheap,
bauxite
no
mining
petrotram boy
and
this.
alumina
Watch it dirty
operations.
fucker. When the
Under the
revolution
program,
start, you better
Funding
pray when you
is
can fly.
provided for projects to
Here,
generate
we're going to lick out on a
employment
blood clot,
and
and I think I
improve
joke,
the
and I watch.
social and physical
We're going to go into some
infrastructure
licking
of
on our ass, and I
communities.
wait.
The program is administered by the JBI
Here?
under the guidance of a steering committee comprising representatives of the JBI and the portfolio ministry, with each phase having a duration of between 2 and 3 years. Section 12 of the Bauxite Production Levy Act provides for the establishment of the Capital Development Fund and sets out the mechanisms by which withdrawals are made. In keeping with the provisions of the Act, a withdrawal order and resolution was drafted by the Office of Parliamentary Counsel to facilitate the withdrawal of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund for the purposes of implementing Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program. The Capital Development Fund currently has sufficient resources to facilitate the withdrawal of $400 million during the 2025-26 financial year. At July 31, 2025, the JBI reported a total of $13.1 million being held for the Bauxite Community Development Program following implementation of Phase 7 of the program. The Bauxite Community Development Program undertook 23 projects in Manchester, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, St. Catherine, Clarendon, and generally across all bauxite parishes at a total cost of $110.4 million during the 2024-25 financial year. Additionally, 5 projects were undertaken at a cost of $28.93 million to date during the 2025-26 financial year. The requested support of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund is therefore necessary to allow the JBI to finance the implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program. These activities are geared towards strengthening livelihoods, enhancing community infrastructure, and supporting socioeconomic development across the bauxite parishes. Madam Speaker, it is proposed that a withdrawal of $400 million be made from the Capital Development Fund in line with the Bauxite Production Levy Act and Cabinet's Decision 23/25, dated June 16, 2025, granting approval for withdrawal and implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program during the 2025 to 2028 period. Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
Thanks, Minister. Those in favor? Those. Oh, no.
Thank you. I'll wait to be recognized. I'm waiting to be recognized.
Member Warmington.
I'm waiting to be recognized by the Speaker. Now shut your mouth.
The member from South Manchester on the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I couldn't allow this motion to be passed without speaking on behalf of the constituency that I represent, South Manchester. But Central is in a similar situation, so I can speak to both. He's here to speak for himself. Madam Speaker, this resolution speaks to extracting a sum of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund for use in the implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program over the years 2025, 26, 27, and 28. That's $100 million per year for all the constituencies that are affected by bauxite. Shut your mouth and listen up. Madam Speaker, that $100 million a year is really an embarrassment. If that entire amount was used in South Manchester, it wouldn't begin to dent the work that needs to be done in that constituency. It's quite frankly inconsequential relative to the needs of these constituencies. And if I speak specifically to South Manchester, Madam Speaker, if you were to visit many communities that have suffered, that have endured bauxite mining for decades, Broadleaf, Harmons, Prattville, Asia, Perrins, Lancaster, some of these areas have been mined out and there are still pits unreclaimed decades after they have been mined. When you go in some of these communities, you could only describe the landscape as post-apocalyptic. And this is not because of the recent hurricane. This has been in that condition for decades. Right now, there are schools which are struggling to reopen in South Manchester. Still don't have power. Prattville Primary, Winston Jones. The billions that have been extracted from the immediate environs of these schools. In fact, to get to Winston Jones, Winston Jones is marooned. It's like an island and mined out all around the school. And yet they don't have a generator or a solar system that they can continue operating. The school has an agricultural department. They have hundreds of pounds of chickens that they've produced, which are at risk of spoiling because they have no electricity. And yet, billions have been extracted. Billions of dollars have been extracted and continue to be extracted from these areas. Billions in US. The member from Western St. Andrew is correcting me. In law, the mined out pits are supposed to be reclaimed within a fixed period of time. What the companies appear to be doing is mining out about 95% or 97% of the bauxite. And they leave a little corner of the mined out pit. And they call it an open pit. They haven't finished it because there's a few truckloads left to be removed. And that seems to relieve them of the responsibility indefinitely, because some of those have been in that state now since 2010 and earlier. The JBI, which is being given this money to implement the program, behaves often as if they are an advocate for the industry, not an advocate for the communities that are impacted by bauxite mining. The mining, the Commissioner of Mines and the Department of Mines, which also has a role in terms of enforcing the appropriate regulations, they also seem to have been neutered. The benefits that the country gets from bauxite aluminum mining today is a trickle compared with what it was in its heyday. And I have made a recommendation in this House many times before, and this is not a partisan recommendation. This is coming from my perhaps unique experience of representing 3 different constituencies that are heavily impacted by bauxite alumina operations. Originally Southeast Clarendon, where the Jamaica plant is, then Central Manchester, where the Kirkvine plant is, and mining took place, and now South Manchester, which is literally honeycombed with bauxite alumina mining, with bauxite mining going to the alumina plant. This is an industry where we have not matched the expenses to mitigate the environmental damage with the revenues that the companies are earning. I have made a recommendation, Minister, before you had that responsibility, and I will repeat it now, that each ton of bauxite taken out, each ton of bauxite extracted, an amount of money should be put in escrow so that whatever happens down the road, there is money available for reclamation, for other environmental mitigation. I've never had, well, I've had responses that it sounds like a good idea. But I made that recommendation, I think, the first time in 2008. And we still haven't had any action in that regard. What we have today is an industry where there's not a lot of reinvestment taking place. In fact, there is huge exposure. There's huge exposure to communities in St. Anne, where Lands have been taken, but persons have not been paid. Contractors are used for mining. Contractors are used for haulage. Contractors are used for loading at the plant. Labor contractors are used to provide casual labor. All of these payables amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. I discovered via questions in the Senate that Petrojam at one time was owed $8 million US
Big up on
dollars by
yourself
one
for now.
company.
Yeah, man,
By
big up
one
on yourself,
company.
man. I go and listen, I go and take it in.
There may be
See
reasons
me and deal
why
with. Yeah,
some
man, big
people
up on
prefer
yourself,
not to
man.
hear what I'm saying. Because we know there are a
I
lot
think I
of
joke there, right?
vested interests.
Blood of boy, I want to hear when this stomach gonna come with, you know. I'm eager to hear when this stomach gonna come with. Because we hear the rumors them say Juliet Holness have them chuck them on the road, you know. Yeah, man, we hear the rumors them, man. So we want to say when this stomach gonna come with, here.
So when you
Eager.
throw stone in hog pen, the one that ball.
God, dirty Andrew come out of the country, gone.
So, Madam Speaker, I would say even in this time of the more transient crisis that has been brought on by Hurricane Melissa, even getting a response from the companies that are operating to assist the communities in this regard is very difficult. We had an allocation for trucking water, and I know that conventionally or usually the companies truck water in the communities where mining is taking place. I tried to reach out to the company to say, well, at least tell me what areas you are going to be covering so that we don't duplicate the trucking of the water and the little allocation can go as far as possible. Not even the courtesy of a response, companies, as the elected representatives.
Because Andrew instruct them, you know.
Speaker,
We don't talk to him about nothing. But make him go on. Make him blood clot go on, because he will never, and can never last this term.
This industry is in its twilight. And in a sense,
You stay tuned, you know, because I'm going to deal with Macadam case to come out, you know. So you don't miss this one. And make sure you tag Macadam here. Look more I start on them case on the tag her. I look like she is senile. So when I start with Macadam case to come out, you just tag her.
It's not coincident at the poverty survey.
She want to have sex.